right, here we go. It is a Friday. We have a lot to discuss. Live in Los Angeles, it's The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Jordan Schultz in for J-Mac today from Bleacher Report. He is an NFL insider, and we loved having you on a couple weeks ago. You crushed it. We're having you back. This is an interesting time of the year. So draft, everybody. Now, a lot of the stuff out there right now, Jordan, is false information. People are throwing stuff out there. You know this. I remember years ago Mel Kiper telling me he never got more manipulated than the last week before the draft. Everybody's sending out stuff. NBA playoffs have already sort of begun with a play-in tomorrow, Lakers, Nuggets. So you picked a good time to come back to the show.
I'm thrilled to be back. What did Bill Belichick say? It's not until the final 12 hours that you really get the actual information that matters, that's correct. Now, that can still mean you're getting manipulated the final 12 hours, but that's when the best information comes out. So until then, it's lying season.
Yeah, lying season. So LeBron James and the Lakers, prime time tomorrow night, start their series against Denver. So, you know, Denver's the preemptive favorite. They swept the Lakers last year in the Western Conference Finals. So when I suggested a week ago, you know, maybe the Lakers could rest LeBron AD in that first game and, you know, end up facing Oklahoma City, who they match up with really well and had beaten several times this year. Instead of Denver, oh, Colin, you can't duck. Yeah, you can. You can do that. There are better matchups. But it wasn't just about losing the series potentially to Denver. It's about the repercussions of losing the series to Denver. LeBron has options after the year, and right now he's easily the team's best playmaker, like easily. So LeBron's career has always been under a microscope. We all know that. So he gets swept by Denver, and then he gets swept again by Denver. And D'Angelo Russell again has a mediocre to bad series. What's the fallout for the Lakers? What's the fallout for LeBron? Because Denver's not going anywhere. They're still pretty young, a lot of players in their prime, and I think Jokic is actually getting more efficient. And LeBron, if they get swept or lose in 5, is going to say to himself, oh, let's see here. We don't match up. We can't beat them. They have more players in their prime. I'm getting older. What's the fallout for that? He's going to say to himself, I need a new coach, start over again. I need new teammates outside of AD. So Oklahoma City would have been different. If you beat Oklahoma City in a 6-7 game series, regardless of what happens after, there would be hope. There would be optimism in a year that ends and LeBron has options. LeBron would be saying, we can live with Darvin Ham. I like this roster. Maybe move D'Lo. We just need tweaks. That's a different offseason than getting swept again or losing in 5 to Denver. And now, the upside to getting whacked by the Nuggets is it may force Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss to absolutely have to go get Trae Young for Atlanta, regardless of what you have to give up. So there is a ray of sunshine if you get clobbered, and I think the Lakers match up with Denver, but I don't see him closing out games in this series. But there's going to be repercussions here if you get swept again. And LeBron's got all sorts of options. And Draymond Green loves him and hangs out with him and vacations with him. And Steph Curry and Klay Thompson could certainly use another cagey veteran to score 24 points. Steph needs somebody next to him that consistently can score 23 to 24. Yeah, I think that's LeBron. So it's not just facing Denver and losing again. What are the repercussions of that? I think they're substantial, with the only good side being you get whacked and Trae Young is absolutely a Laker next year because Jeannie and Rob Pelinka know LeBron will put the heat on him. That's what he does. So as the draft, the lying season, as Jordan calls it, George Payton told The Athletic, great subscription service, that the Denver Broncos may move up and take a big swing. And, you know, it's interesting about the NFL. It's such a situational league. So we all knew this. You know this too. Most of the time, Andrew Luck being an exception, you're about as good as where you land. Do you get the right coach, the right coordinator, the right O-line? You're as good as where you land. Virtually nobody can overcome nonsense. So that's very true, and we all know it. But here's something else. Even if you're a great coach, you have to get a top quarterback or you get fired. Pete Carroll loses Russell Wilson in his prime. Pete Carroll before Russell Wilson in his prime, been fired 3 times. Andy Reid got fired. Bill Belichick went from GOAT to inept. So not only do quarterbacks have to land on the right spot, coaches have to get the right quarterback so they get fired. So we know Sean Payton's a good coach. So think about this. Not only were the Saints 3-13 before he arrived there, but the New Orleans Saints had one playoff win in 39 years before Sean Payton. He arrived in 15 years. They won the division half the time, 7 times. We know he can coach. He's probably the best play caller with Andy Reid in the sport in a decade. But when he took this Broncos gig, and I remember it because he and I were talking a lot, and then all of a sudden he wouldn't return my calls, so I thought, okay, he's taking a gig. And it was Denver, and my first thought was, ooh-wee, there's a lot to unwrap with that job. It's not your GM. You got a new owner. O-line's a bit of a mess. Andy Reid, Mahomes in the division. And what do you do with that Russell Wilson deal? Yeah, that's a lot, right? And we know he can coach. 7 division titles, 15 years. Saints were 3-13. Sean arrived. Division titles followed. They were the laughingstock of the league. Not for a year. For 39 years. They couldn't win when they had Archie Manning, who was more athletic than Peyton and Eli combined. So now it's 1 year later for Sean Payton, and here's where we're at. $67 million in dead cap money, and the only way they can get a top 2 to 3 quarterback is to give up massive draft capital. That's where they're at. Oh, by the way, Justin Herbert just got Jim Harbaugh. Mahomes still has Andy Reid. This division now looks like it's as good as anything outside of the Raiders. So, you know, it's funny about Sean Payton. There's no question he can coach. But think about the 2 best job openings. You can usually see what's a really good job opening. In the last, let's say, 8 to 9 years, what have been the 2 best job openings? Aaron Rodgers in his prime, Matt LaFleur gets it. And then the Cowboys were a really good roster, and Mike McCarthy got it. Well, what did Matt LaFleur do? 13 wins. Well, what did Mike McCarthy do? 12 wins. So you can see what a great job is. That's why everybody, including Vegas, DraftKings, is saying, yeah, the Chargers over-under is about 10.5. They're going to be really good really fast. They got a left tackle. They got a quarterback. They got 2 edge rushers, right? Like you can see they got draft picks. You can see the good jobs. This was not a good job. Now, Peyton's brilliant, and the Saints were in much worse shape than Denver. And the dead cap money for the Broncos is only for a year. And they got a few 3rd-round picks and a couple 5s. They don't have a 2nd-round pick. They got to get another weapon. They don't have enough weapons. Raiders right now have better weapons. They need more weapons. They got to get a quarterback. My take is that Sean is going to go sort of revert back to, after a difficult first year, what worked in New Orleans. Well, what turned it all around was Drew Brees. And the one quarterback in this class that feels like Drew Brees to me is Bo Nix. Little shorter than you'd like. Not a gun, not a howitzer as an arm. A lot of college starts, super productive, won a lot of games, super dedicated, and moves better than people think. So my prediction is Denver will either stay at their spot and get a Bo Nix, maybe a little bit of a reach. Maybe they move up 1 or 2 spots to get a J.J. McCarthy. But it does illustrate, once again, it not only is about where do you land as a quarterback, but even as a top coach. If you don't solve the quarterback thing, you're done. And, this is a good quarterback draft, and next year's not a good quarterback draft class. So Denver's in a very precarious situation with a great coach who took a difficult job, and this is how hard it is. That Herbert now getting Harbaugh changes everything. That changes everything. I can argue by the end of this year, we'll be saying this division, no division has 2 better teams at the top than the AFC West with KC and the Chargers. Can't wait for my guess is Denver has a couple holes to fill. They got to get an edge rusher. They got to get another weapon. I think they need some depth at corner and running back and safety. I don't see them moving up. And I do think Bo Nix and Michael Penix will both be available. But you can't go too far back because the Raiders are right behind you, and they need a quarterback, and they may like Bo Nix. So your gut feeling right now, Caleb 1, Jaden Daniels 2, that's what I've heard. What have you heard?
Absolutely. But then you have Drake May. Then you have J.J. McCarthy, who, depending on who you talk to, you might get an entirely different answer. McCarthy, the winning pedigree, the upside as an athlete, a former hockey player, the toughness, all he does is win. 2 state titles, a national title in high school at IMG, a national title, 3rd winningest college quarterback ever. And then you have Drake May, the upside through the roof.
Big,
6'4".
tall moves.
Yeah, you talked a couple weeks ago, Justin Herbert type of talent.
Yeah.
But a little bit more raw, maybe a little more green. And then Bo Nix, 63 career starts. And then Michael Penix. At Indiana, they're horrible, gets them to number 7 in the country, takes Washington to the national championship. Oh, he's 24 years old. Well, so is Bo Nix. Yeah. Breeze was 23. Who cares?
Right.
Can you play? Those guys can all play, in my opinion. I think they're all really good.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nix quite has the same ceiling, but there's a lot to be said about a high floor and a guy that can play pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. Bo Nix can play first week. There's no question. 61, 62, 63 college starts. There are 3 numbers to remember to get the visibility and control you need to make the right business decisions instantly. 36,000, 25, and 1. 36,000 is the number of businesses that currently use NetSuite by Oracle, and it's growing every day. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system in the world. It streamlines inventory, HR, accounting, financial management. 25, NetSuite turns 25 this year. 25 years of allowing businesses to close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down expenses. And 1, because your business is one of a kind. You get a customized solution for all your KPIs.